This mic.
See, I'd imagine Chase is handy. Chase, you handy, honey?
Hell no.
See, I thought you were. Maybe it's because you're so jacked now. I thought that, you were like home improvement man.
Dianna, do you think I'm handy?
No, I don't think you're handy, but I think you're smart enough to figure it out. Like I could, like you're like my brother-in-law. I could see you going to YouTube and kind of being like, oh, okay.
YouTube is the greatest handyman tool of all time.
Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the athletic senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini, and boy, is it a big day around Scoop City, Chase.
Yes, I'm Chase Daniel, 14 years in the NFL, and it's a big day. We got a new person on board finally. Who would that be, Dianna?
Scoop City is growing, and we're growing in a really big way. This thing is about to take off. Now that we've got our newest member, let's welcome him in, James Palmer. Welcome
Golf
to
clap.
Scoop
Golf clap.
City, baby. James and I have been friends for oh my gosh, it's got to be over a decade now. He's covered the NFL for over a decade. I don't know if that just means we're all getting old or what it is, but
You're
you know
definitely
James
getting old.
Palmer. If you love the NFL, you know who he is. James, welcome.
Guys, this is awesome. This is awesome. I don't know. Dianna and I were texting a little bit, Chase. She was like, I'm hearing from people in the league. This is awesome. You guys are getting bigger. We're having great NFL conversation. We all have known each other forever. Dianna put out, actually, I will say this. She's like, Scoop City has a new mayor, which I was pretty stoked about. I've never been interested.
Mayor of Scoop Town, baby.
I know. I've never been interested in local politics, but this might be a role for me. I mean, and they're important. The mayor in Jaws 2 is the same as the mayor in Jaws 1, which was a huge issue. So maybe I should get involved in the local politics of Scoop City. Let's do this.
Let's just, well, before we get into all the stuff that went down in all these preseason games, we have so much to talk about. I feel like our listeners and the people that are tuning in need to learn a little bit more about you, and maybe a little refresher for Chase and I as well, and for the rest that are working on the show. So why don't we do two truths and a lie, a good old icebreaker? Everyone loves an icebreaker.
Icebreaker from our corporate retreat. Maybe we'll throw a ball to somebody else and they'll catch it, and then I don't know. I'm just thinking of The Office.
I love it.
Those are the
great.
worst.
It's a great episode. They're terrible.
My
listen,
wife loves The Office, man.
so do I. I'm going to be quoting The Office like crazy. I'm going to tell you right now.
Right? Because it's all this pressure. Like, you got to be like really original and come up with something better than the next person. I just did one about a month ago, and I fell flat on my face. I was so bad with my idea. I was like, I stink.
I like that icebreakers are supposed to relieve stress, but they just make it a more stressful environment for everybody that doesn't want to speak in public. Listen, everybody does know, I think, what I've done covering the NFL for a long time for NFL Network. Before that was a beat reporter for the Houston Texans, covered the SEC, covered the Mountain West Conference, and all these things. So I wanted to go non-sports for my two truths and a lie, okay?
Oh, my gosh.
Here we go. And then you guys have to pick. Obviously, everybody knows the rules.
Yeah.
I made several appearances as the Philadelphia Fanatic. I am not speaking, no speaking role, but you can see me in two separate feature films. And do you remember the show Jackass?
Yes.
Yes.
Johnny Knoxville.
Growing up, Bam Margera's mom cut my hair my whole life.
I got it.
These are the three.
So stupid.
I got it. That's easy. I feel like this is easy. I think for sure, Diana, we got to be on the same page. I think for sure the middle one is a truth. Two feature films. The way you said it, the way you acted on it, you seem like an actor. You have a face for TV. You're in. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think, Diana? You think that's one of the truths?
No, but
right?
I love the breakdown. Like,
Yeah.
I love the.
No, I love that we're in the
compliment.
weeds here.
Like, you're a good-looking guy, James. You know that's what
I know. I was like, Chase is like, this is a
hat.
Robert Redford cat in front of us. I was like,
Diana,
Chase,
would you agree
appreciate
that that's one of the truths?
I would agree. I think he has been in a movie.
Is that true, James?
No, that is not.
Oh my gosh!
Yes!
What?
James!
Yes! We have been the Philly Fanatic.
So Bam Margera.
Yes.
The Philly,
I remember
Chase, how are you not talking about the Philly Fanatic? That's ridiculous. So tell us this
Yeah,
backstory here.
the most iconic mascot in all of sports. Listen, I never got to do a game, but I did several appearances. Sadly, growing up in Philadelphia, school closings have been a regular thing from time to time. I've done some school closings in the city as the Fanatic, some charity walks out there in the summertime. It was my dream to be a mascot. And honestly, it all started by being SpongeBob I was SpongeBob SquarePants at Hooters first. That was like the minor leagues for me. Kids Eat Free on Tuesdays. And I made a big jump from single A ball all the way up to the big leagues with the Fanatic. And I really wanted to be the Fanatic for my entire life, but they just don't, Tom Burgoyne does a great job there being the Fanatic's best friend. And then
I was so wrong.
I used the wrong M word. You are the Scoop City mascot, not
mascot.
mayor.
wrong.
Yeah, mascot, not mayor, yeah. And then I remember, real quick before we get to this, I remember sitting in the barber chair and April being like, so Bam got a call from MTV and they want him to be on this show. I don't know. Hopefully he does something because he's just skating, and I don't know if it probably won't be anything. It's called Jackass. We'll see what happens. And I was like, well, I think it kind of became something. But
that it did. Real quick.
I was so
what's the
wrong.
one
I'm sorry,
thing
Diana. I led us down the wrong path.
The thing is, I trust you so much, so I took
not
it.
Trust me now.
Chase and I have a thing, and so I went with it, and we no longer
Yeah.
have a thing, Chase, because
Totally
that was
wrong.
really bad.
Well,
Totally wrong.
I like that we're starting this off, guys, where I can lie to you extremely well. That's a good working
Eat it
relationship as we kick this off. Perfect. So let's kick it off right now. Listen, we got a couple of things we majorly want to get to. James Cook's situation, the running back in Buffalo. He dresses, he warms up, doesn't participate. What's happening? Doesn't play in the preseason game. Diana's got a ton on that. Then we're going to talk about AR-15. Anthony Richardson, the dislocated pinky, and can't stay on the field again. Does that change reps moving forward? Does that change the quarterback competition moving forward at all in Indianapolis? Because it's a real one. We'll get to that. And then lastly, these rookie quarterbacks. And we have our quarterback in Chase Daniel with us, so we're going to look at some of the film. Chase is going to break it down. We're going to tell you what we're hearing around the league about these debuts from a lot of these rookies. All of that coming up right here. So this is what we're hearing. Let's start with the big. I'm not sure if you guys know about Shedeur Sanders. Kind of a lightning rod. And Shedeur goes out there, plays very well in a lot of people's eyes, throws a pair of touchdown passes in his debut against the Panthers. Diana, I want to start with you because one of the things that I loved about joining the show is we get the film side of things, we get the former player side of things, we get breaking all of that down, but also what we're hearing around the league. What was the consensus, or was there one, about Shedeur Sanders' debut?
Yeah, I feel like I got a flavor of how people saw his performance, and a lot of different flavors, actually, not just one.
Neapolitan, yeah.
And these are talking to people who took time to watch the film, right, since they played on Friday night. So, Chase, I kind of wanted to rip through some of the notes I took on some of the conversations I had, and just tell me if you think it's a big deal or not a big deal.
Yeah.
When I share some of the criticisms and some of the good things, right? So I'll start with one. Great arm, great poise, great energy, right?
Yeah, I would agree. His arm looked better than it did at Colorado. And I know he had a strong arm. He's always been supremely accurate with the football. I think the biggest thing that he showed within the game was his ability to throw on time. Like, he played on time. There was no panic. There was like a lot of poise. And he was a lot more athletic, Diana, than I thought. A couple of these spinning around sacks, a couple of these getting away from sacks when it's five-man pressure. So I'd say that's probably right on par with what I saw.
Okay, so this was the most consistent thing in speaking with people that I got the feedback on. Poor ball security in the pocket when moving. That was the common feedback from that tape. Big deal or not a big deal?
Huge deal. I mean, it's a huge deal. I think the one thing that rookie quarterbacks, second-year quarterbacks, really all quarterbacks, the biggest thing that I've seen in quarterback rooms being spoken about is really not interceptions, because interceptions, there's a lot of different ways that it can happen. You can throw a right route, but the receiver breaks the wrong way, and so that's on you. That's an interception. Or you can get a tipped ball. That's not really your fault. Or you can get just an amazing play defensively. Very rarely do you just throw it right at the guy. But when you talk about ball security within the pocket, it falls directly on the quarterback. And I did see, and when they talk about ball security, you really want two hands on the football. And the film definitely said sometimes he would drop that left hand and he'd be waving this ball around like this. And that's probably pretty normal. Dianna, you saw it from Jaden Daniels. You saw it from Caleb Williams, who takes a lot of sacks. That's a pretty normal thing, and that is coachable, but that's actually true.
What about not being the most disciplined? Like, I think that's just fair for where he's at on his journey. That was something that was shared with me.
When you say most disciplined, on the field, off the field?
On the field. Just not the most disciplined in the position yet, which he's a 5th-round pick that it's playing in his first NFL game.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that was a little harsh. Simple slants are high. They were really high.
So the first throw, they are literally talking about the first throw because I saw it too. They did a 4-by-1 formation to the left, a single receiver to the right, Dianna, and it was his first throw. And I'm telling you, I watched that throw about 15 times. He threw it about 100 miles an hour because he was so amped
jacked up, man.
He was jacked up, and they came back to it a second time in the game, going left to right on the screen, and he missed that as well. It's just nerves, but he I remember my first football throw in college, Dianna. You'll never believe this. Like I played as a true freshman at the University of Missouri. It was in Kansas City Chiefs Stadium, and Brad Smith had started. I got a couple reps in the game because we were smoking. I think it was Arkansas State. I was so nervous going onto the field. I threw a shallow cross about 700 miles per hour, tipped off the hands of the receiver. My first pass. Tipped off the hands of the receiver and went about 30 feet in the air and landed in Arkansas State defensive backs' hands. I run off the field to Gary Pinkel, and he says, "Sit your ass down." He put Brad Smith back in the game. Back in the game. So I get the nerves. Those are to happen.
Yeah, and he certainly seems like an athlete, and we saw at Colorado who was going to be able to handle and manage all that once he just feels confident. I mean, Nike's already got an ad for him. I mean, what was that, like an hour after the game?
Wait,
that was a little...
Dianna, did you say once he feels confident? Once
Yeah, that's true.
Shedeur Sanders feels confident?
He does not lack confidence, but I that's one of those characteristics about him I do think people around the league see and were judgmental of it, perhaps even when he was going through the draft process. But when it comes down to it, you want your quarterback to have a little bit of that juice. If he can just learn to control it in the areas when he needs to. No, why did you shake your head at me? You're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that there is a certain amount of juice you want your quarterbacks to have, and I do think nowadays these college quarterbacks are coming into the NFL extremely confident and extremely confident in themselves, whether it's social media status or like all these guys, right? Like these, and that's just sort of how it's moved. I do think there is something to be said about how his teammates feel about him, and from everything I've heard, I felt like they really like him, and so I think that it'll be interesting to see the dynamic if and when he is the starter. Will he continue to carry himself the way he does? Because it's sort of him showing him his personality. And look, we've talked about this a lot before the Kansas City Chiefs. The one thing that Andy Reid would always say to Alex Smith, to Jeremy Maclin, to all these guys that I play with the Kansas City Chiefs is be you. Show your personality. So maybe they're just letting him do that. It's infectious. I actually enjoyed the way he played, the style he played with, the confidence. You saw him go up to Myles Garrett. Hey, I just want to feel your swipe, right? I just want to feel your swipe. Like I'm spinning away. Like stuff like that in interactions with teammates, it's good.
Yeah. Listen, he was him. He entered with like he always says, giant boombox, has a guy next to him with a scepter as he's coming into the stadium.
What
so
did you
like,
think of that when you first saw that, though? Yeah. Like, weren't you like, oh boy? 'Cause I think a lot of people had a thought on that of like, what is this going to be?
Yeah. I think that thought was there, Dianna, but at the same time, is he being exactly who he is? He is. And if that's the way Andy Reid, one of the best coaches of all time, says guys should be, he's not changing who he is now that he's gotten to the league. I think that 100%. Was evident in that. I think I wanted to bring this up to you guys because, listen, this is the only guy that hasn't taken first-team reps out of the 4. He's been predominantly with the 3s. They believe Dylan Gabriel is good enough, to my understanding, to take meaningful reps during the season at some point from what they've seen. The main reason Shedeur's been behind are all the other things we talked about in the draft process. We don't have to get into it. But last week, I was having dinner, name drop, with Andrew Siciliano, the voice of the Browns. Yeah. The voice of the Browns. And we were sitting there, and he's like, this is what's going to happen. And we were agreeing on this. He's going to go out, and he's going to ball, and it's going to erupt, and it's going to be this thing that surrounds Shedeur Sanders all the time, right? Unlike any other player we've seen probably coming out. So what I ask you, Chase, is has he earned more number 2 reps? We're going to have joint practices with the Eagles, so it's an opportunity for him to get maybe some more meaningful snaps. How quickly has he grown? I think this is a big one because he was behind. In this small sample size we saw in a preseason game, has he already moved himself up for stealing some snaps? And it's helped. He's taken advantage of a situation where there's been some injuries and some limited snaps around him.
Look, when he first signed as a 5th-round pick, I wasn't sure if he'd get reps to get him up to speed. So I was a little bit, not worried, but interested to see how it would play out in the game. But the way he operates the offense, or at least he did for one game, 50 plays, not even like 2.5 quarters, I believe there's no doubt in my mind he should get more second-team reps. Like, he needs to continue the progression up the hill. And I've been of the part, and Dianna, we've talked about this. I've talked about this everywhere. I think eventually they need to play one of the 2 rookies. Like, I think Joe Flacco's probably the one to start the season. But do we think, and I'm saying we, this is rhetorical, do we think the Browns are going to go on this special magical season run? No. Like, I just don't have faith in that. They play in a very difficult division. The AFC is absolutely stacked, Dianna. And when I look at this roster, I'm like, okay, they'll be good. Joe Flacco's not your answer at quarterback for the next 10 years. They have to find a franchise quarterback after that disaster with Deshaun Watson. And my whole thought of thinking is, well, if it's not Flacco and you drafted Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, you drafted Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, let those 2 guys play, see what you have this year, right? I think it should be earlier rather than later. And I say that because the Browns next year have 2 first-round picks. So if Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel are not the guy, is it Arch Manning? Is it Drew Aller? They'll probably have a first-round pick, like a high pick. They'll have the ammo to move within that top 3 or 4 picks to be able to get their guy. Now, we don't know what those guys will be, right? The college guys. But you have to see what you have on the field with these guys.
So all in all, I actually talked to somebody inside the organization even this morning who was like, he's progressing the way we hope and expect a rookie to progress at quarterback. That's kind of where the Browns stand. I think they liked what they saw, but again, they know he's got work to do, and we'll see what added work he gets moving forward. And speaking of workload, James Cook's workload is one that we're analyzing inside and out throughout the course of training camp. There's been multiple hold-ins. There's been some holdouts. James Cook has been back and forth, Dianna, as the Bills running back starts. I think he practices the first 4 days. Then he's standing on his business, and he's having a hold-in. Then he dresses for the preseason game, goes through warm-ups, and they wanted him to play. He decided not to play. Is this a sign that we're headed in maybe the opposite direction of what a lot of us thought was happening, which was we're getting closer to a deal? Is this now an issue? Is this a concern for a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, it's certainly not great at this point, right? So we saw Kyron Williams out of LA get paid around $11 million, right? And we know that James has said publicly that, he thinks his worth is about $15 million.
Woo!
Right? Quite the difference in money. But look, credit to him. He's shooting high. He was going for the cash. He knows that he's valuable to this offense. And we saw the effect that Saquon Barkley had on the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl in their run. So more power to them for swinging for the fences. And that's seriously how it's viewed, right? No one thinks that number's realistic. Your reaction is exactly, I think, how the Buffalo Bills have seen it as well, respectfully.
Where does he end up at then?
So I think the number that makes sense is probably right around Williams, if not maybe $1 million or $2 million more, right?
Yeah, because remember, Kyron Williams, this is the 7th highest paid back in football now. He gets 23 guaranteed, 33 over 3. So Diana's right, the 11 per year.
11.
I think, and Diana, tell me if I'm wrong here, now listen, the running back landscape is very difficult to navigate as opposed to some other positions in terms of salary and compensation because backs are used in a variety of ways. He's not an every down, bell cow back like Williams is, but that's Sean McVay's system. He uses one back, but you can't discredit the value that James Cook has to an offense that is built a little bit differently. So as I'm saying this, Chase, I'm thinking, it's hard to make these evaluations on what a player's worth when your offense operates differently than other offenses in the league. They don't pay a $30 million receiver on the outside.
No. Yeah.
They're built differently. So how does that work?
Well, I think just in general, you saw Josh Allen's game, in my opinion, take a step up last year. And really before that, even the last 5 or 6 games where Joe Brady 2 years ago was the offensive coordinator after Ken Dorsey got fired. And what did that show me when they made the switch from offensive coordinator to Joe Brady, which I was with Joe Brady in New Orleans in 2017. Dude is super smart. And he wants to run the football. There's a reason why Josh Allen took a step up this year. They ran the ball really well. And it wasn't just, hey, let's run left, let's run right. Different schemes, different variations, putting Josh Allen under the center, play action stuff. And what did Josh Allen do? He ended up winning his first MVP. And so I think that is something that needs to be talked about like more, because I do think James Cook is one of the better backs in the game in the system.
The only reason why this one is slightly bizarre to me is if you just look at the Buffalo Bills history, and Brandon Beane even said it. He's been there 9 years. They've never dealt with anything like that.
It's a good track record for the Beane man.
It's quite the track record, right? Because
Mr.
it just
Bean.
tells you how they conduct business.
It's quiet.
They approach it fairly. I don't think there's an ego of we got to win this. Because you two both know, so much of these negotiations are about who's going to come out on top, who's winning, right? So let's say you change the APY, or you agree to an APY that's a little less than what you were hoping for. Cook's camp is then going to try to get more guarantees. Like that's just how it works, right? Everyone is always trying to find little ways to win if they're giving in other areas, and I think big picture, that's the sense I'm getting of where they're at right now. Is they're just trying to come up with an agreement where both are feeling like they're giving a bit. But I do think it says something that this is happening when historically this hasn't been the Bills in the last decade. They like re-signing their players and getting it done and keeping the distractions away from their team. So I think this is something they work out. Like I'm not overly
What's
concerned.
the timing?
It's just when, right? Because now we're at that time. We're approaching the time of year where GMs, head coaches are usually pretty chill, and then everyone starts freaking out like, game one's coming,
Yeah. But Dianna, my understanding is they're closer on numbers than people may think. Obviously, there's still always a lot to be hammered out. Until a deal's done, you're not there. But I do think he wants to be there. He has said he wants to be there multiple times. He did show up for camp. He did participate. Yes, it's gone backwards a little bit. Hell, I'm even looking at somebody like Rashawn Slater, who just got paid with the Chargers and then goes down in practice. This is a difficult position to stay healthy. You take a beating. Your window is smaller than a lot of other positions in this league. You want to get paid as much as you can on that second contract. He deserves it. We mentioned how they're built differently, but at the same time, Dianna, you do have to participate and start wondering and start practicing, because we're seeing this with multiple holdouts or hold-ins, as you want to say. There is a time where you got to start practicing to be ready for week one.
And I think that's a great point, James, and to both of you guys, like, people don't understand, and it hasn't really been reported. I'm not sure if that's happening, but when you're holding in, you're still getting fined if you're not practicing. Like, holdouts getting fined, and so it's a lot of money. Like anytime I've been a part of a few of these, you're like, dude, do you care about losing like $30, $40, $50,000 a day? It just continues to add up. I wonder when there's a breaking point, if James is getting fined, like, hey, I'm sick and tired of losing money. Like, it depends if it's contentious. It depends if there's drama, how the team handles it. It just seems to me like the Buffalo Bills, and James, you made the point in the pre-production meeting. It's like, man, that was the most boring Hard Knocks episode we've ever seen.
It was a snooze fest.
They don't
Deion
want
Dawkins
attention.
out there drifting, but there's no with kids in the car. But there's no excitement really, and that's kind of a good thing, the way the Bills are doing this. Real quick, but when you're holding in though, Chase, you're not fined until the team wants to fine you.
Exactly. And if you're not practicing, though, and there's a contentious relationship there, and we've been a part of these, they can start finding. That's why, James, if you remember, that's why hold-ins became all the rage. Yeah. Okay, let's not hold out. Let's just go there, show up, and the CBA changed. So now it's like the best of both worlds. You're face-to-face, but you can still fine a guy for not going to practice. And I'm not sure if they're doing that or not, but that would be a point that I would imagine that they would probably try and make.
I think a lot of fans believe too, because we've seen teams do this, that, those all get waived once the contract is extended. That's not always the case, right? It's really up to the club. So we'll see how they're going to handle this. But I think both sides are going to try to figure this out over the next few weeks. This is not one that I'm staying up late worried about.
No. And Brandon Beane had like 90 different contracts he had to handle with this draft list as they've been trying to reconfigure their cap. He did 4 other deals this offseason as well. And it's hard, and I'll close it out with this, to get all of those deals done in the same year, because what happens? You're happy you're re-signing your talent. You drafted them, you developed them, you re-sign them. What ends up happening, though, Chase? All their deals are up at the same time again. And then you're like, oh, God, we're hitting it at the same time. We got to regroup. So sometimes
luckily the
GMs
salary
like
cap's going up to like $300 million.
100%, but sometimes you like your contract staggered a little bit so that it's not all happening the same year. Okay, coming up, we're going to talk about Anthony Richardson, AR-15, an injury connected to that name. That's something that has happened, sadly, far too often in a short career. What's next? Has the competition changed? Do the reps change? Is he completely healthy? We'll have all of that after the break. Welcome back to Scoop City. Dianna Russini says I'm the mayor of this town. James Palmer with you. Dianna with me. Chase with me. Anthony Richardson. He plays about 6 snaps, ends up getting blown up on a blitz, dislocates the pinky. He is done for the day. Before we get into analyzing the play, which Chase did brilliantly on social media, we have to talk about the health. And Dianna, where does AR-15 stand? Is he limited by any stretch moving forward in a very real, very legitimate, full-blown quarterback competition?
Oh, it is. And look, he did return to practice after Thursday night's game, and they're certainly monitoring it. As of now, that he's not being held back. They're not giving him reps off at any point. So I think they're confident that it's going to be okay here. But again, the big story is going to be who actually has the edge, and he wants to be on that field as a competitor. And I'm talking to somebody in Indy this morning about it. So much of this is just mental for him, of just feeling like he is 100% healthy. And this isn't him feeling bad for himself at all, but there's a thought of frustration of he can't stay healthy. And granted, this isn't something that they're super concerned about that is going to hold him back and he's not going to be able to play. But it's just another challenge for him as he's trying to beat out Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and listen, it's probably not the only brain, his, that this Chase is creeping into. It's everybody in Indianapolis. It's from Chris Ballard to Shane Steichen to going, I know it's a dislocated pinky, but here we go again. Can he stay on the field? And he was gaining some ground, from my understanding, on Daniel Jones in the last several practices. He had a really good joint practice. And then you see this end up happening. Aside from the injury, if he wants to win this job, there's great concern because of the play and what transpired.
Yeah, I mean, look, James, I was not expecting me reacting or anyone reacting to Anthony Richardson getting sacked and dislocating his pinky, which I don't know how, like as a quarterback, like it's probably the least important finger you have. But man, his pinky was like sideways.
It was a baldy pinky. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was a baldy pinky. Brian Balding. Yeah. But when you look at the play, and I think going into his third year, I think this is sort of the frustration. I didn't know it would like do so. Like people would be so interested, but it's the frustration that he just really hasn't taken the next step mentally. And yes, guys, it's preseason game. Yes, coaches and offensive coordinator, they don't prep for this, but it's a day one install play, James. It was a running back to the flat. It was a little hook route behind it, and it was a corner route on top of it. And it's a 5-man protection. And I couldn't believe, Dianna and James, the amount of people on social media that tried to tell quarterbacks what was wrong with it. It was the O-line's fault. Why did he not do it? No, this is absolutely on Anthony Richardson.
How mad does that make you, by the way, when people do that on social media?
These couch quarterbacks are fine. I laugh at it, and when I think I look at people. Yeah, I look at people in the comments like, why are you fighting? Like, I'm not trying to like tell you an opinion. I'm telling you fact on what it is in the NFL quarterback room. And so this is on Anthony Richardson, and it was a play. Maybe I was a little harsh, but it's a play that is like, hey, you have to know and get your eyes in the right spot. That's like football 101, knowing when you are hot, meaning there's an extra defender coming. If you only have 5, people are like, well, they only rushed 4 and they had 5 offensive linemen. It's just like throwing to the hot. It's what college quarterbacks are coached. It's what NFL quarterbacks are coached. It's day one stuff. And so the play is the play. I think the biggest thing that people are wondering, and even Rich AR-15 handled it brilliantly in the press conference after, it's like, hey man, like just make the easy plays. Just don't have negative plays. Just do what you're asked and do what you're coached, because it's 1000% getting coached. It's literally the first play you install when you go there on training camp day one. And so I think that was the frustration, maybe with the coaching staff and maybe with the fans, like, man, this should not be that difficult of a play.
Yeah.
Dianna, it doesn't bother him at all, does it? You can tell it doesn't. Chase is definitely laughing when people.
Oh, yeah, Chase
doesn't bother him at all.
Yeah, James.
Come on now.
James, that's going to be the best part of this journey with us,
I don't care.
as we're going to be, a trio. You're going to see these things about Chase.
I like it. I
Fire
like
him
the
up
emotion.
that I'm like, what? Why are you getting so mad about that? But I get it. He's passionate and he does the work. That's what it is.
I like to
Chase,
see
you
him bubble
watch
over.
so much that you know more because you've done it. It's easy for us to sit here and criticize. My thing, before we move on real quick, my thing is just, I feel like this is just getting handed to Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones is just not grabbing it and going. And I think back to when the offseason was around and the Vikings were considering keeping him there. Like, maybe this was a blessing that he wound up going to Indy, because he should be better. Like, this shouldn't be so close of a competition, or at least some of the reports coming out. Daniel Jones started off ahead, but now, as James, you pointed to, it seems closer. I just don't think it should be this tight.
Yeah, I don't think it should. I do think the word that I hear out of there more than anything as we wrap this up is consistency. They just want consistency from the quarterback position. And Chase, you know exactly what that is. Dianna, you know exactly what that is. They think they have a decent offense. They want somebody to go out there and run it. And by the way, you saw the addition of Tyler Warren pretty quickly about what he brings to that
Amazing.
group.
Add Mitchell, Tyler Warren. Like, they got some skill
They
players,
got some
man.
players, and they want somebody to distribute this ball. I still think Shane Steichen's a good offensive mind, and they want somebody to play consistently. And being consistent, Chase, you have a point, is you have to consistently be on the field.
You have to be on the field. Just quick question before we move. Like, in your guys' opinions, like, who is the starter day one? Like, if it's close, would you imagine that Anthony Richardson would get the nod because of the draft pick? Or, like, because I don't have a feel for it at all.
I think it's going to be Daniel Jones in the end. Wow. I think that's going to look. They have this always goes back to the politics of it, right? And you look at general manager Chris Ballard. He's been there. Obviously, this organization as a whole is dealing with a lot of transition with ownership. Obviously, with the passing of Jim Irsay, who had a lot of say on things. Chris Ballard is going to want to make Anthony Richardson work, right? He's going to want him to have an opportunity. But I think the play is going to wind up being the thing that it's going to force the hand. If you're Shane Steichen, you're sitting there like, I need the best quarterback here. And I'm not saying that's Daniel Jones right now. I just think that's.
I think he's saying I need wins, but to keep my job in some sense. But yeah, they're not going to rush this. I know from that, Dianna, they're not going to rush this decision. They've rushed things with Anthony Richardson in the past. I think they make this decision leading into their third preseason game. Honestly,
well, they list it as or, right?
Yeah, there's still some time. Yeah. Now there's another quarterback battle that is a true quarterback battle. These might be the only two maybe that are really just between two players. There's another one between 4 that we covered. But this one down in New Orleans with Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough, the second-round pick, who played 78 years of college football.
Yeah, he did.
And, yeah, you know what I found out, actually? They are born on the same day, Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough. And Spencer Rattler is a year younger. And so what did you, Chase, see from...
Wait, what was the day? Do you know the birthday? No.
I had it somewhere.
You expect them to know the birthday?
That's impressive.
Well, it was funny because I was looking them up, and then I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm going back and forth, and I'm like, that's the same day.
James Spencer Rattler, by the way, not that it affects my opinions on the show, big fan of Scoop City.
Is he?
Loves the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
well-
Came up to me at the Super Bowl. Was like,
Super
love the
Bowl.
show.
Yeah.
We love Spencer Rattler
Well,
for that reason. And we also.
I appreciate that, Spencer. And listen, we will find your birthday, and we will send you something whenever we look that up and find your birthday. What flashed to you, Chase? Honestly, about him, I feel like it was kind of like it wasn't too big. You saw flashes that he can play, but it was up and down. And my understanding is that's the way camp's been.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the most interesting quarterback competition that no one's talking about because you have a guy in Spencer Rattler who didn't play well last year, and then Tyler Shuck goes out there, probably drafted maybe higher than some people thought. I know that we covered it here on Scoop City. Dianna had the scoop on a lot of this stuff that, like, hey, you are getting talked about more and more, and she felt like he was moving up draft boards, and surely enough, goes to the Saints. It's a great position for him. I don't know if he's going to be ready. And when you watch the game, it's like, all right, there's some boneheaded mistakes. There's that big touchdown throw that really, Kellen Moore wants to do. He wants to throw the ball down the field. They have Rashid Shaheed. That's a speed burner. They have other guys out there. It's a decent offense from that standpoint. Still have Kamara. So they're going to be fine. It just comes down to the most important position in sports. And I don't know how they're going to play. Like, if I'm the Saints, like, do you want to start Spencer Rattler? I don't know. I think that what they should do is probably just ride with Shuck and decide, hey, this is what's going to happen. There's going to be some ups and downs. Like, they're going to not win. I don't know if they'll win a bunch of games. Defense has to be really good. They play in a division that, is been owned by Tampa. Then you look at Carolina, they're getting better. Can they have the number? Like, there's just so much that goes on. Atlanta's better. But it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out.
Chase, you've played for Kellen, and you know him well. You know how his mind works. What do you think's like the one thing he's obsessed with in his quarterback that these two have to kind of figure out in order to win the gig?
Because he's played with different guys, yeah.
Yeah, run the damn ball. That's what you have to do with Kamara. Like, I'm looking at Kellen, and I'm looking at how much he ran last year. I mean, I think down the stretch after their 2-2 start, the Philadelphia Eagles, they averaged 25 pass attempts a game. Now, they don't have Saquon Barkley. They don't have that offensive line, but they have to rely on a run game early. I think the biggest thing, Dianna, we talked about earlier, taking care of the football. Kellen can't stand when the ball is turned over, when he can't stand when they're not sharp. They'll probably have a watered down offense. Maybe it's some Philly stuff, maybe it's some LA stuff, maybe it's some Dallas stuff that Kellen's going to bring to New Orleans. It's going to be watered down because you're going to have a young buck running it. You want to be able to go up there, operate well, but I'd say run the ball, man.
Listen, I'm going to look at this from a 10,000-foot view here, and I want both of your opinions. Because to me, I think 2025 is the first time we have an opportunity for the New Orleans Saints to reset, and they haven't done that in a long time. My understanding is I'm not sure they're bringing any sort of veteran in with this competition. It seems like they're looking at these two. We have to find out if Tyler Shook can play. We could win 5 games and find that out and be in the running for one of these quarterbacks that, once again, we hear that this year's class is better than the last class, right? We always hear that. But at the same time, could you be putting yourself in play for 2026? And your real quarterback option is a year down. You have a head coach in his first year coming into the city. You do have, Chase, you mentioned, no, they don't have the Eagles' offensive line. I think they have an okay offensive line, though. They have some skilled players. They have some pieces on defense.
This is the first
so they have some things in place. I almost feel like, Dianna, they're in a better position to figure things out in 2025 and put themselves in an educated position to evaluate their options in 2026 than, say, the Browns are, who also are probably some of their stiffest competition of taking a quarterback at the top of the draft with the extra ammunition they have after the Travis Hunter trade.
This is no knock on Dennis Allen or Darren Rizzi even, but I feel like this is the true first post-Sean Payton era. And just because those two guys had such connections to that regime, right? Obviously, with Dennis Allen's relationship, and Darren Rizzi's been a special teams coach in New Orleans for all those years. They're now back together in Denver. So to your point, that are they flushing this thing down, right? And letting Kellen make this his own by going, all right, we got to figure out how to clean up this mess for this year to get by to set us up for next year. I think that makes a lot of sense. They have a great owner, a patient owner who understands and understands the position that they're in because of the previous season. So I don't think it's far-fetched to say, like the Browns, maybe they're just looking at this season of let's be decent, let's be competitive, but it's all about next year.
Yeah, and you have to find out. You need answers at that position. You need answers. And some teams are trying to hit the reset button. Other teams trying to go for a Lombardi trophy. That's where we're going to go in the final segment of today's show. That's Matthew Stafford not on the field today. Once again, as he's battling this back issue, we're going to tell you if there's a cause for concern there or not. Bringing down Stafford and the Rams after this. Welcome back to Scoop City. James Palmer, Dianna and Russini, Chase Daniel with you, and Matthew Stafford, well, not really with us. He's not on the show. He's not on the practice field. He still has not returned on Monday. He is kind of throwing off to the side. There looks to be kind of a something put in place, Dianna, on him returning to the field. When is that going to happen? Do we know? And what is the concern level, if you had to put a number on it between 1 and 1,000? For Sean McVay.
1 in 1,000. Okay, I like that.
Well, knowing Sean McVay's personality, 1,000, right?
Yeah.
He stresses out over everything.
Sure.
Look, we've known this about Matthew Stafford forever. He deals with this every single season. This is part of the reason the contract always gets ticky-tacky. Just because this medical staff knows what he deals with on a daily basis. And he doesn't like to talk about his injuries, but we've all been reporting enough on Matthew Stafford over the years to know there's something not great about his back from day one. It's just, never, he's never 100%, it appears. So look, I'm just going to go based on the history now. This isn't me knowing anything at this moment. I just think this is something with some rest here. He figures it out because he just always does. He's that tough of a quarterback, but we'll see how this plays.
I couldn't agree more. I think that I played with Stafford from Highland Park. Everyone knows that. I'm from Southlake in Texas, and we were pretty much neighbors. He has always been sort of the Iron Man of the NFL, right? He's always seems to be hurt. There's always something. He's got a wrap on his left hand. He's got his ankles taped. He's got something. Back's a little bit different. Backs can flare up quite a bit. I don't think this is anything to be worried about, but I do wonder how it will affect him for a 17-game season. Now, there's this veteran rest, right, which I think that's really what this is. Yes, it was said and reported he got an epidural. I get that. But it will be interesting to see if he gets hit right in the right area. I mean, backs are nothing to deal with, especially with quarterbacks, especially his throwing motion, James, that he brings. It's a lot of torque through the midsection, and then those small muscles in the back and those small bones and vertebrae in the back when they're turning so much, because he's a very snappy thrower. So he uses his midsection and torque a lot. It'll be interesting to see how it happens.
Yeah, I think it's an idea, Chase, of value, right? What do you value more? Reps in the early portion of August, or where's his percentage of health in December and January? And I think you know where their value is, right?
And they got Jimmy G there,
we
and
know,
we all know how much they love Jimmy G there.
That's a great point, Dianna, because what everybody always talks about, too, before we move to some youngsters, is when your quarterback isn't on the field during training camp, how is it impacting the other 10 guys of your offense? The Rams, I believe, feel like the other 10 guys with Jimmy G out there around them are getting all the proper work that they need, because they believe Jimmy's a starting caliber guy, so the offense still operating well. And guess what? Devontae Adams is an absolute stud route runner. He'll be exactly where he's supposed to be, right? When the two start throwing the ball back and forth with each other. But the young quarterbacks are still trying to figure things out. Let's finish this off with a couple of other rookies that we saw, Chase, on the field. The first one, Cam Ward. I'd like to give him an award and just say, hey, here you go. You're the least talked about number 1 overall pick of all time. But what did you see from his first game action in the NFL, the number 1 pick in Cam Ward?
I thought it was good. Look, I watched it live, and I watched it again, like literally right after the game, just to get a feel for how much he played and what he did, what he didn't do. I think a lot of people are just looking at stats, right? Like, oh, let me just see the stats. Did he throw for a lot of yards? Did he throw for a lot? No. But the operation, when I went back and checked it again, I thought he played a lot better than he did when I first looked at it, because then you really get to dive in, and that's what they do in the film room. The operation within the huddle, getting stuff set, the 3 completions to Calvin Ridley, I mean, they're going to be a problem this year. That's what they sort of hope, that someone could get Calvin Ridley the football. Now, look, offensively, they got some weapons. They have better weapons than I think a lot of people think. Are there going to be some growing pains? Do they play in a winnable division? Sure. It's going to come down to how poised Cam Ward continues to play. I think there's a little bit of problem solving that goes into the position. And just watching in college, I thought Cam Ward was able to problem solve the quarterback position better than really anyone that I saw coming out of the draft. And yeah, he's the least talked about number 1 pick. I don't know if they like it or don't like it, but we're talking about him now. So thought he played pretty well.
Dianna, what do they think? Like, do they think he's where he should be? Do they think he's beyond where he would maybe be in their expectations? Where do they view Cam right now?
So one thing that I've liked about the way the Titans have handled this situation is they know the talent he has, but their patience it stands out when you're having conversations with them about what they expect from him right now. And I'd say he's right on track. I feel the Titans believe he still has a lot to learn and grow, but they seem happy with where things are.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm kind of excited to see him play. Real quick, Chase, before we move on from him, I was told this morning, calling around, drifting a little bit. Is that a thing with him? Did you see that?
Yes, I think so. I think that there's some pocket presence stuff that needs to get worked on, but like I said, it's so hard to break down these guys after 2 drives.
I'm so glad you said that. I wanted to
Thank you for being a realist, Chase. Thank you.
It's funny because like Chase, people around the league all know that you do this, and they know that we were going to talk about all the rookie debuts and just the quarterbacks. I almost sent you a screen grab too. Yeah. I can't tell you how many texts I got of just tell Chase it's one game. It's one game, but I was like, well, this is what we do. Like, we freak out.
I got excited, and I think
it's football
because I like breaking down film, right? So when I'm like almost like a fan, but like I have an intimate knowledge of the game based on my background. So when I see finally a rookie quarterback doing something actually on the field and it looks good and he's progressed from college, I get pumped. And fans get pumped. So all these GMs and all these coaches and all that stuff, you can pipe down because I'm going to continue to celebrate the game.
Hey, they're listening. That's all that matters.
I like it. Chase says, well, just because I have a little bit of an educated knowledge of 14 years in the NFL.
Yeah. But what do I
know? This is the one, Chase, that I have been very fascinated to watch, and that's Jaxson Dart, specifically because of who he's working with Brian Daboll. And I remember having so many conversations with Bills general manager Brandon Beane about what Daboll did in the early portion of Josh Allen's career and what he did specifically with Josh that first year when they didn't really want to play him as much as they did. And then he found a way throughout the season to find ways to make Josh Allen effective. I kind of felt, small sample size, that's what they did with Jaxson Dart. Of these are the things that he does well, and this is how we're going to set him up to succeed.
Well, quarterback draw, first of all. Right? Like, they ran a freaking quarterback draw with him. He got 2 balls batted at the line of scrimmage. He does have a little bit lower release. When you watch the game, though, and watch it through, he got a decent amount of snaps. The number one thing that I saw from Jaxson Dart was, one, his escapability, right? That's always been something I think that a lot of people didn't talk about, almost like Bo Nix 2 years ago. The athletic ability is a lot better than you probably think.
Yeah.
And then 2, James, and I broke it down on social media, and I caught this, and it really was difficult to catch. You saw on his touchdown play, right? His touchdown throw, him getting smoked, him throwing a perfect ball down the. You did not see, I promise you. Check it out. He checks to a go ball, and he audibles a go route to the left. He taps his hip, and he's able to go back there. So you get a change of protection, a change of play, an audible. You're getting smoked, and you fire the football down the field 30 yards, a perfect touchdown. To me, in a first game in a rookie, I would have never even remotely tried it. I know I suck and everyone, like, all that stuff. But like, that's what Daboll wants to see. It was exceptional.
So the question remains, because everyone wants to know, do you think it's actually a true competition? And I'm going to stay with, despite the fact that I think we saw some bright spots here, that this is going to be Russell Wilson. They don't have any reason
doubt
to put Jaxson Dart out there just yet. I think they just got to keep growing. But they've, even though Daboll's called it a mid-performance, I think he was downplaying it a bit.
Keyword for you, just yet.
Exactly.
So
Dianna,
that's
what I was going to say, Chase. Dianna, it is going to be Russell Wilson. I don't think that has changed.
Yeah.
But for how long? That's the question now. And if he keeps
saying
growing in increments, how much does that possible start date for Jaxson Dart keep creeping closer towards middle of the season?
The only only
third
thing
in.
that gives me hesitation about the Giants' decision making on it, and trust me, I'm not this person that thinks, oh, you got to roll out the rookie because you picked him, etc. But look at New England last year. Remember with Drake May there and Jacoby Brissett, and we were screaming from the mountaintops, like, why are you playing Jacoby? Just play the kid. Just think about how much further along Drake May would be if he maybe had those first team reps all through camp. And I mean, he did a little bit during camp, but had him at the start of the season. So look, Brian Daboll, I think, has to be elated that this kid is showing some swag and may even be better than what we expected. But it's still good to beat Russell.
I think so too, and I think like October, you're seeing Jaxson Dart, and the reason I say that is they want this Russell Wilson guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, to this early season stretch of schedule,
news.
Okay, Commanders,
Brutal.
Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers, Saints, okay, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, like what? And then they get the 49ers. They probably have, if not the toughest, one of the toughest schedules in all of football. So you don't want to throw a rookie quarterback to the Wolves.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Great point. Listen, speaking of young quarterbacks, let's just want to say out there, Spencer Rattler, birthday September 28th, same as Tyler Shook. So on the 28th, we'll have a special Spencer Rattler episode, Tyler Shook episode in honor of their birthdays. We'll all cancel everything we're doing and make sure that we put that out for Spencer, since he's an avid listener. Dynamite debut voyage, guys. I really think we really hit on something
Crushed
here.
it.
I think we did. Any notes for me, real quick, before we go, that you have for me?
No, you were great.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
Apparently you're the best looking guy on the show. So
Robert Redford looks, according to Chase Daniel. Appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We got a dynamite episode coming up on Wednesday. I'm really excited for the conversation. That's called a tease in the business. For Dianna Russini, Chase Daniel, James Palmer, this was another edition of Scoop City.
thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.